Guys, get excited. We're making these awesome rattles today. The first thing that you want to do is cut your clay into two main parts and then one extra little piece for the details. And then you're going to roll your ball and make a pinch pot. So just start by squishing the edges down on each of those cubes. Then you're going to take your thumb and put it into the middle of your cube. You're going to take your hand and kind of duck quack along the edge until you've made a really good and open spot for your pinch pot. You're going to do the same thing on each side and kind of check as you go along that the second one matches the first one pretty well. Now you're going to take some of the extra clay and you're going to roll it into 3 balls. Each of these balls are going to have to get wrapped in a piece of newspaper and stuffed into the inside of your first pinch pot. If not, they might have a chance of sticking together during the firing, and we want to make sure that they actually rattle when it comes out. So now that you've got the inside pieces attached into your pinch pot, you're going to take your toothbrush and score and slip around both the edges of that. The toothbrush is kind of nice because it just scores and slips together. If you want to be double sure, you can go along with your wooden tool and score along the outside as well. And now it already has a slip on it from the toothbrush. So now you're going to do the last part, which is smoothing is soothing. It erases the lines. You really want to push these together and try to make it look like one piece as much as possible, so it kind of erases that line and it shows where it was together. So guys, the cool thing about this project is that once you've got your 2 pinch pots formed together, you can turn your rattle into anything that you want. And there's a few main things that you have to remember. One is scoring and slipping anytime and smoothing. In order to get any piece that you're going to add on to yours, you want to make sure that you're going to score and slip and smooth so that it stays attached. You want to make sure anything that you add to yours is not too skinny. If it's too thin and sticks out too far from the body, it's a lot more likely to break. And then the third thing is you want to make sure that you're adding details to make yours interesting. That's going to provide some contrast on your piece. I decided to turn mine into a rabbit, and if you've been watching as I've added the ears, I kind of set them there at first just to see if they would look good. Then I took them off and made sure to score and slip, and now I'm really smoothing them on really well. If your finger can't reach into the place, you can use one of these tools to do the job. Just for the video so you can see, I kind of placed mine on a little piece of newspaper, but you don't have to do that when you're working on it. So I'm adding some eyes. I'm making a little sphere and adding those on. Right now I'm just pressing it, but I am going to have to score and slip those on, otherwise they'll pop right off when they dry and go in the kiln. So I want you to think about spheres, coils, and slabs. Those are kind of the 3 main pieces that you're going to use along with scoring, slipping, and smoothing. With those 3 forms, you can add any sort of shape to yours. So a sphere is the first one. That's just a little ball. That's what I did to make these eyes, and then I added the detail by poking into it. Other details, if you want to leave it off now, I could have just left that plain and planned on adding the pupil with glaze. That's another option. A slab is just a small flat piece of clay, which is essentially what this little triangle for the nose is. It could have started out as a sphere and cut down as well. But you can use larger pieces of flat clay. Think of it like a cookie. If you have a thin cookie, then that's like the shape of a slab, and you can add things with that. I'm making coil right now to try the mouth. I ended up not liking this coil and ended up taking it out, but that would be a great way to add whiskers. I think later on I'm going to add some whiskers with the coils. It's okay with clay. If you don't like something and want to try something else, you can take it off. The one thing I want you to avoid is crushing the entire project and then trying to start over. That will give you a lot of air bubbles. So now I decided to go ahead and make this into the mouth, but everybody's going to need to have a hole in their rattle, just like that little chicken had a hole in the side. you're going to need to have a hole because these two pinch pots together have created a huge air bubble, and that will crack in the kiln. So I felt like the mouth was the perfect opportunity just to make sure that went all the way through to the middle. If you don't have something like that, then we'll just poke a hole somewhere else on your piece. The little hands and paws and feet that I'm going to add on my bunny, they're also kind of like little slabs, and I'm just cutting them out. I'm kind of placing them here, but I have, of course, not scored and slipped yet, so that's not done until I score and slip that on. Once you score and slip it on, you can go through and add details. All the details are going to be the things that are really going to make your project stand out. If you can add a lot of texture to yours, that's going to provide a contrast. If you have smooth areas, rough areas, different types of things for people to look at visually. And remember, you can also plan to do some of this with color when you do your glazing after we bisque fire these. Since sculpture is round, you want to think about the whole side, and I added another sphere. I scored and slipped and smoothed that on, and now I'm trying and experimenting with different textures to make my tail look a little more fluffy. And we do have some more tools. If you're looking for something that you can't quite decide how to do it, go ahead and ask me for help, and I can try to help to find you a good tool for that. And then I'm using this wooden skewer tool to go ahead and add some fluffiness, hopefully some texture that looks a little bit like hair to the rest of the body. And then when you think you're done, I want you to look at your project, see if there's some areas like I had around this belly line that are kind of like spiky boogers, those little bit of spiky clay that will, it looks fine now, but when you fire it, those are really sharp. So we want to, nobody likes spiky boogers. So go ahead and smooth those down, make sure you get your initials on it, and then we'll put it on the blue tray. Make sure, of course, that you also have a hole somewhere in your project.